Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living. So glad you joined us today. And thanks to all those tuning in on our love string. We're just going to get right to it. Let's celebrate the spring. Let's sing this song together. I can see clearly now because the snow is gone. Let's sing together.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. Well, I can see all the obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. I think we can make it now. The pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is a rainbow we've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue skies. Well, I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the rainbow we've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day.
All right. Are we blessed with this beautiful band? And a bright, sunshiny day. How about that? So welcome, everybody, to Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Rev Cindy. And I just want to welcome you, whether you're here in person or you're online. Thank you for being with us today. We appreciate it. We welcome everybody, no matter where you are in your journey. Everyone is welcome here. And I want to say thank you to Lana for guiding our meditation this morning. Yes. And we will have another practitioner coming up, and that will be Jim Ferris, and he'll be doing our evocation this morning. So I just want to say something about our practitioners. They're awesome. Yes. And if you haven't met them, they usually, or sometimes, not always, wear their purple stole. And that's how you know our practitioners. They are here holding the consciousness of this community. We offer prayer in many ways. I'll talk about that more in just a minute. Also, our practitioner, Hildreth, is holding the high watch today. So let's thank Hildreth for doing that for us for this service today. So our center is a spiritual community that teaches a philosophy for daily living on spiritual principles and practices that are universal amongst all religions. We honor all pathways by which people seek to know and connect with the divine. We work on our individual consciousness so we can help make this world a better place. So join me in saying this purpose statement that's on the screens. We are an open, welcoming community, celebrating our divinity, loving our humanity, and nurturing our journeys of spiritual discovery. Thank you. The theme for this month is reconnecting, renewing, and refreshing. I added one last week, rewiring. I can do that. So today we have a very special guest, Rev Cynthia Ambriz, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about her before she speaks, but her talk title today is Life Finds a Way. So I'm so excited that you're here. Yes, thank you. If you are here for the first time, I ask you to be brave and just raise your hand and let us know. All right. Welcome to Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living. So you can see the beautiful ladies at the concierge table out in the lobby, and they'll give you a packet. So make sure that you do that. They'll give you a Science of Wine magazine, and you can sign up there for emails, and you can also put in a prayer request. So make sure that you go to that table out in the lobby. There's always things coming up here, and today's no different. We always have classes, events, and things like that. And today, after service, Rev Cynthia is providing us with a big blessing, a 2-hour workshop called Embody Your Greatness. Who wants to embody their greatness? Yeah. So in this workshop, based on the book Energy Codes by Dr. Sue Morter, you can learn how to heal on every level of your life. I think everyone should be there. It's only $10 love offering, and if you come, we have got some lunch downstairs to feed you so you won't be hungry, all right? So that's downstairs in our new classroom. It's Suite 120, so don't miss this. The next thing I want to talk about is food, fun, and friends. I've been warning you about this, and it's finally time to bring this to you. We're in phase 1 of food, fun, and friends. Now, what does that mean? Let me tell you an overall picture of what it is. It's a way that we bring together members of our community and our friends and our family to eat, meet, and create beautiful memories together, all the while raising funds for our beautiful center so that we can always have a wonderful music program. We can do events and guests and do all kinds of good work in our community. First phase is we have to have events that we can auction off. There's these sheets. I have them, and any board member that's around here will have them. And this is a sheet that is where you can tell us what kind of event you want to host. For example, I'm hosting, I first called it a Jewish soulful dinner, but I looked at the calendar and I decided I'm going to do a Hanukkah dinner, right? So it's going to have potato latkes and brisket and all those wonderful Jewish soul foods. So I can have 6 people at my home. That's how many chairs I have at my table. I will invite you in. I will cook, serve, clean up, and you guys get to meet and greet each other and spend the evening with me in my home, and that will be auctioned off. Other people that might have a pool can have a pool party. I'm sure we're going to have some home concerts. Ruth and Robert are hosting a bowling night, complete with a taco stand. So there's going to be many, many events like this that you sign up for. The other thing I wanted to let you know is it doesn't matter what your price point is. There's going to be events that are just $10, and there's going to be events that are going to auction off for a higher dollar value. But we have $10 events to make sure that everyone is included. So it's called Food, Fun, and Friends. It starts today. We're going to be taking these event forms through the 14th of May. And then we'll be starting the next phase on bidding on these events after that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Get involved. If you are the kind of person that doesn't necessarily cook, but you have some skill or something they're good at, maybe you're a masseuse or a chiropractor and you want to offer a session, that's fine too. But we're also looking for those kind of events that really include the whole community. So that's what's going on with that. Also, if you missed our membership meeting, no worries. You can see the ladies at the concierge table, and they will let you renew your membership or sign up as a new member. And that's happening through the end of this month. So make sure you take advantage of that. You can find out all of these kind of things on our website, www.spirituallyfree.org. All right, so make sure you go there and check in all the time. We keep it up to date. And the next thing I want you to know is our ministry is founded on prayer. Our practitioners have studied for years and said yes to serving as the heartbeat of our center. They are always holding the truth in oneness, wholeness, and love for this community and beyond. You can request prayers on our website. You can request prayers at that table in the lobby. And you can grab a practitioner wearing a purple stole after service. This is who we are. This is what we are here to be. Practitioners of prayer. So I invite you to just allow your outer eyes to close. And settle in as I do today's reading. And Jim will be coming up in just a few minutes to do our evocation. It's from Howard Thurman. For the Inward Journey. And it's called The Experience of Love. There is a steady anxiety that surrounds our experience of love. Sometimes the radiance of love is so soft and gentle that we see ourselves with all harsh lines wiped away and all limitations blended with strengths in so happy a combination that strength seems to be everywhere, and weakness is nowhere to be found. Sometimes the radiance of love blesses a life with a vision of its possibilities never before dreamed of or sought, stimulating new endeavor and summoning all latent powers to energize the life at its innermost core. But there are other ways by which love works its perfect work. It may stab the spirit by calling forth a bitter, scathing self-judgment, the heights of which it calls may seem so high that all incentive is lost, the individual to stricken with an utter hopelessness and despair. It may throw in relief old and forgotten weaknesses to which one has made the adjustment of acceptance, but which now stir in their place to offer themselves as testimony of one's unworthiness and to challenge the love with their embarrassing authenticity. It is at such times that one expects love to be dimmed under the mistaken notion that love is at long last based upon merit and worth. Behold the miracle. Love has no awareness of merit or demerit. It has no scale by which its portion may be weighed or measured. It has no scale by which its portion may be weighed or measured. It does not seek balance, giving and receiving. Love loves. This is its nature. But this does not mean that love is blind, naive, or pretentious. It does not mean that love holds its object securely in its grasp, calling all that it sees by its true name, but surround all with a wisdom born both of its passion and understanding.
Into the presence would I enter now, for I am surrounded by the love of God. Let me be still. Listen to the truth. Let every voice but God's be still in me. Let me remember I am one with God. Peace to all others, they are one with me. Let me remember what my purpose is. Let all the world have love and peace with me. Let all the world have love and peace through me.
Feeling that silent, sacred space within, that precious place of knowing the divine is within, living in and through me, you, each person present at this service. Recognizing its beauty and power, and most of all, its love and compassion, its heart of concern, caring. This we carry into our lives, living it, seeing it in each person, knowing that oneness lives within each and every person, each creature, great and small, everyone. All within this realm and realms that we cannot see. And here we are together, knowing that purpose, that strength that lives within, that forms the bonds of spiritual community, family, nationhood, and a planet that has all it needs for every person. Seeking that oneness right here and now. I give great thanks to come together with spiritual community, to feel that presence together, to strengthen one another and let it ripple out into the world. I am so grateful for the music that empowers us, uplifts us, and lets us sing together that love, that peace into all the world. In gratitude to all who put on the service and all the participants who choose to come. Together we bring light into the world and share love in our hearts as we heal and grow into a world that works for everyone. As together we say, and so it is.
Springtime's a wonderful time of year to realize our connection with all of nature. The renewing, the rejuvenation, the reawakening, the life that is budding and blooming and sprouting, and all those life-giving things that we have within us, the new ideas, the reconnections. It's a great time of year to realize the truth of our connection with all of life. Let's sing together. This is called Awaken Now.
Oh, great spirit, awareness of one, still small voice, I know as my own.
Thank you. It is so thrilling when you guys sing along. It is just thrilling. Thank you. It's my privilege to introduce our special music today, and it's been a long time coming. Dallas Brown has had some challenges in his life, and I think we've scheduled him twice before now, and luckily he's well enough and available, and I'm so grateful to have him back with us, the man of 1,000 flutes, the medicine of Dallas Brown.
Beautiful, just beautiful. Thank you, Dallas. So, it's my blessing and privilege to introduce you to Rev Cynthia Ambriz. Rev Cynthia did her studies to become a practitioner at Agape International and graduated in 2014. She continued on to ministerial studies at the Michael Bernard Beckwith School of Ministry and graduated with me in 2020. Reverend Cynthia is a Dr. Sue Morter certified best practitioner and an energy codes coach and master trainer. She's authored a book called Life Finds a Way. And by the way, the books are in the lobby, so you can grab one and have her sign it after service or after the workshop today. Reverend Cynthia works with individuals in her coaching practice and helps them embody their greatness. So that's the official. Here's the unofficial. Reverend Cynthia and I have been through a lot together. But this is what I know about her. She is a wise soul. She is an inspiration to all that she meets. Ooh, I don't want to start crying here. The thing that I know the most about her is she is here in her yes, in her authentic self, to live her soul's purpose. And I talk about that a lot from this platform. She is an individual that I love and respect because she is always, always doing her thing that is hers to do. And I've also noticed the blossoming and expanding of her consciousness. I notice it in both of us. I think of us from those early days, those first classes, the first time we ever stood up here in a place where we had the microphone to where we are now, and it's light years different. So it's my pride and joy to introduce you to Reverend Cynthia Ambriz.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's my pleasure to be here with you. And yes, Reverend Cindy is correct. When I flash back to when we first started ministerial studies and how nervous I used to get, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a video that was circulating on YouTube about these goats that when they got frightened, they would faint. And every time we had to deliver like a 5-minute talk in front of our classmates, it wouldn't happen physically for me, but internally and energetically I would. And I used to say to God, like, you have an incredible sense of humor. Because of the life that I had lived, I was very shy, or I thought I was shy, and it wasn't until recently that I realized maybe it was PTSD, right? Because there was so much challenge that I went through and so much hiding to keep safe, to survive, that when I would have to speak in front of people or feel eyes on me, I thought I was about to die. So I thank you. There's an importance for us to share our stories. At least it's how I've been able to heal so much of it, and I've written a book about it. It's called Life Finds a Way, and the image that I wanted on the cover, but was not chosen in the end, was that of the dandelion, right? Because you see the dandelions come through the cracks in the pavement. And so you can change the word life on the title to God, to love, because that's how persistent this life is, right? It cares not. It will break through concrete to express itself. And I feel very much like a dandelion. But I didn't want to be one of those people who got stuck telling their story from victim mentality, right? In fact, I never even started to share my story until I started ministerial studies. And we had to come up with talks, and then people's jaws would drop when I would start to share my experiences. Because not only did I not want to talk about it, I was ashamed about what I had been through. There was shame, there was guilt, thinking I had not grown up like your typical average American, right? Somebody who went to college, somebody who had a normal upbringing, So I thought all of these things were reasons to be ashamed. So, but everybody, all of us have that. I don't know if you guys have this relative in your family that maybe 30 years have gone by and they talk about the same thing, but they haven't progressed, they haven't moved from that place. So I just didn't want it to come from that perspective. I didn't want it to come from victim consciousness. I didn't want to get stuck in 1983, right, Back to the Future. That was not where I wanted to be. I wanted to be here and now. So when I did finally start to share my story, Dr. Sue shared an exercise with us where she described what a tribe does in the Amazon jungle. And so as a part of that tribe, you're allowed to tell your story 3 times. The first time you can tell it from victim consciousness. The second time you can tell it like, that person did this to me, this is how I felt, they are so wrong. But by the 3rd time, you have to share with the community, with the tribe, what it is that you learned from those experiences, how it is that it grew you. And if you're not able to get to that place by the 3rd time, then you're politely asked to leave the tribe, and you can come back when you find out how it was that it served you. So that really sent me into diving into my story because the weight of it had become so heavy. So just to tell you, working with that perspective, and then being introduced to the bus stop conversation, which you've probably heard from Rev Cynthia about. The bus stop conversation is a cosmic bus stop where we hang out in between incarnations. It could be in a room like this, and you could approach someone and ask them what are you going to Earth for? And so I imagine that I probably said something to the effect of, I want to be able to access forgiveness more easily. I want to know what it means to truly embody unconditional love. I want to master fear. There's probably been fear very present throughout various incarnations, and I choose to live from a place of sovereign freedom where I'm no longer afraid to be me. I imagine I said something like that. And I didn't have the specifics, but I was involved in choosing the physical location of where I was going to be born into. So I was born in East LA in 1971, which was perfect for me because I loved disco. When I was 5 years old, Saturday Night Fever came out, and I was hooked, right? My cousins gave me my first 8-track, and and it was my favorite thing to do. I used to love to dance for my dad and my grandmother. And one day I'm on the playground at school. I'm in kindergarten, and we're outside on a break, and I notice that the gate is open and no one is watching. So I decide to climb through the door, look back. There's still no one noticing me. So I decide to walk home. It's about 5 blocks through East LA because I wanted to dance. So I'm like, well, I'm home, and how am I going to get in? Mom's at work. So I go knock on Doña Cota's door, who was our landlady, who lived in the back. And I said, can I borrow your key to get into the house? So she did. She gave me her key. I went in. I put in my 8-track. I started dancing. And halfway through, I'm staying alive, staying alive. I turn around and I see my mother standing at the front door. The landlady ratted me out. And I thought for a second, I can run out the back door by the kitchen, but will I make it? And I was like, you know what? I had a good enough time. Go ahead. You know what? Pay the piper. Oof. And Mom started wailing on me. Right? Little did I know that that was going to become the theme song for my life. The I'm staying alive, staying alive. Thank goodness for the song, though. It gave me something to hold on to, even at that young of an age. So again, we choose like the location of where we're coming to, how it is that we want to grow and unfold, but we don't know the specifics of how this is going to be facilitated. So for me, when I was 12 years old, was one of the big experiences that took place. It was the first day of summer vacation. I was finishing getting ready, putting up the last of the pigtails, when I heard my mom screaming from outside, and I darted out of the bedroom through the kitchen door onto the side driveway because my mom was screaming hysterically. We were getting ready to go somewhere, and she had put my sister, who was 2 years old at the time, in the car seat, in the back seat of the car. But back then, people used to turn the cars on to let them warm up. I think it was 1983. And we had this huge Toronado, a 1979 Toronado. And my mom's screaming, so I see her, and the car is going in reverse out of our driveway into the street, into the neighbor's driveway across the street. And I realize my baby sister is in the car. So then the car hit the brick wall, shifted back into drive, and then the car starts coming straight out of the neighbor's driveway across the street into our driveway. My mom's running towards the driver door, and she's trying to open it to see if she can stop the car. But she's not able to, and I'm further back in the driveway. This was like a really long driveway. And I think for a second, can I stop the car? So I put my hands in front of myself, and the car won. So the car came, and it hit me in the solar plexus. And my mom thought that once it hit me, that she would be able to pick me up off the floor, that it would go right over me and that she could recover me. But what ended up happening was that the car kept going with me underneath it. So it kept going, and as it went past the side of the house had like these huge cement things that stood out from the side. And I remember feeling my leg go past it and like shattering. So the car ended up crashing into the garage, so it went through a wall and it wedged itself. And I could hear my mom screaming, "My daughters are dead, my daughters are dead." And I screamed back, "No, we're not. Call the ambulance." So one daughter is in the car, one daughter is underneath the car. I'm 12, my sister's 2, my mom's losing it. All I could see are her feet running back and forth. And so I think she goes off. I think the neighbors are coming out at this point to help. And I had failed catechism at that point 5 years in a row because I could not memorize prayer. So I never thought I was going to end up a minister. I hated catechism. Right? I could not memorize prayer. And so I'm sitting there underneath the car or laying there, and I'm looking, and things are becoming very still, very peaceful. And I say to myself, now is probably a good time to ask for help. All right? And all of a sudden, it's, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven." And I was like, wow, you knew that all along. And at that point, the weight of the car was starting to come down on my lungs, and I was having a really hard time breathing. But when I said the prayer, I felt the car lift, and I felt all this air rush into my lungs. And it gave me time, right? So the paramedics show up. I hear the sledgehammer going at the wall. They're making room so that they can gain access to me. And one of the paramedics pulls me out from under the car, and he's holding me in his arms, and he's asking me my name and my birthday, and I tell him. And he asked me again, and I was like, I already answered you. Like, leave me alone. I'm tired. I want to go to sleep. And then I went unconscious at that point. And when I wake up, when I come to, I'm in a white room with white lights, and that's all, the only color I see is white. And I'm like, you win, and you did it this time. You're dead. You're dead. Curiosity killed the cat this time. But I noticed that I was feeling a certain pain in like my female area, and they had stuck a catheter in there, and I was like, yank that thing out. Like, that does not belong there. So that caused me to start bleeding, and so it caught a nurse's attention, and she comes running, and I go, oh, you're not dead. So that was one of the big experiences that I had. I was in the hospital for about 3 months, went through several surgeries, came out in a wheelchair, graduated to crutches, eventually went on to hold on my brother's shoulder and walked that way because they had said I was not going to walk. But here's the funny thing. When I was in the hospital those 3 months and having had such an aversion to prayer and catechism, I realized that I was at St. Francis Hospital and that it was a Catholic hospital and nuns used to visit patients on a regular basis. So one day when I was in my room, the nun pops in, and she introduced herself to me, and she says, hello, my name is Sister Cynthia. She goes, have you made your first communion? I said, no. She's like, okay, class begins tomorrow. So for the next 3 months, she would come every day to give me catechism. And before I left the hospital, I made my first communion. But I thought, I'm like, is that God dressed as a nun, right? And then it gives her my own name, so I'm basically talking to myself. It was a thought that I was having at 12. So flashback to when I was 5. I had gone to spend a weekend in Oxnard. I was from LA, I was from the city, but I had an aunt and uncle that lived in Oxnard, and those relatives were very religious. They were Seventh-day Adventist, so they would go to church on Saturdays, and this was so new for me, but I didn't mind when I would go spend the summers with them. But while I was at their home, we went to bed on Friday night, and I kept seeing a vision all night long. It was the vision of Yeshua in the middle of the wall, the Virgin Mary on the right, and actually, no. How did this go? Yeah, that's the way it was. Yeshua was in the middle, the Virgin Mary was on the right, and a serpent was on the left. And Jesus' face kept changing with mine all night long. And I would rub my eyes because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I would go under the blanket, and then I would come back, and it was still there. Mary's dress was blowing in the wind. The serpent was like up on its tail and doing this. And that didn't stop until the sun rose on Saturday morning. So my aunt asked me in the morning, she goes, I heard you tossing and turning all night. What was going on? And I shared it with her. So when we got to church, she told the pastor, and the pastor looked at me, and I think I heard them say that they wanted to baptize me, maybe to exorcise whatever was going on. So I always thought from 5 on that vision, that experience meant that I had a 50-50 chance, right, of walking like the path of the light or walking the path of evil. But I find it interesting. So just keeping that in mind as my life continues to unfold. So when I was 15 years old, here comes another big life experience. My mom had been Mrs. Brady my whole life. But she was single. She started dating a new man. Turned out that this man was a part of the Mexican mafia. So mom ends up hanging out with all of these people and getting hooked on drugs. And one day she decides that she's going to go to the dentist on the other side of the border in Tijuana, and she drives her boyfriend's car down there. Because she's on drugs, she starts shaking as she's at the border coming back home, and the federal person, the border patrol person, notices that she's unstable and sends her over to secondary inspection, where it turns out that the car is loaded with kilos. So mom calls me, they let her call me, and I'm at home with my brother and my sister. I'm 15, my brother's 10, my sister's 5. She says, they're going to let me come home in a few days, but they're going to release me because I told them I have 3 kids at home that are minors. She goes, and I'll be able to come back in 30 days for my hearing. And I thought, this is good. Mom will finally stop hanging out with these people that have taken her away from us. But when mom came back, we saw very little of her. She was always at the boyfriend's house. And then she ended up not showing up for court and ended up going on the run. But not before dropping off a family to take care of us. Some random family she found somewhere. And I was like, who in their right mind steps into a job like that? So the next day, right, mom doesn't show up for her hearing. The FBI is at the door. Where's your mother? I have no idea. She said she was going to Mexico. So we're now under watch for 24/7. We're being watched by the FBI to see if mom returns. But the good news also was that because the FBI was watching us, the people that lost their money when they impounded the car couldn't get to us either, right? Because now mom and her friends, her affiliates, owed these people all that money. And they wouldn't hesitate to hurt any of us, her children. So I thought it was actually a good thing that the FBI was watching us. So for about 3 months, the FBI was with us, and my mom would call, and I would try to talk her into coming back to save us, and she never did. So 3 months went by, the FBI was tired of waiting. They said, we're coming back tomorrow, get your brother and your sister ready, we're taking you into social services. So I said, okay. But what ended up happening was that night, my brother, my sister, and I, and a friend of mine, Libby, who was 18 years old and I was 15, we all snuck out the back window, and Libby had asked someone to provide a getaway car for us. And the guy drove us to the Greyhound station in East LA. And in the middle of the night, instead of taking a bus, we got into an unmarked van and had the van drive us across the border to TJ. But my brother was feeling the stress and the pressure of the experience, that he was laying on the floor of the van holding his head. And I just kept reassuring him that everything was going to be okay. So we get to the border, the door flies open, we jump out of the van and we run for our lives. I'm staying alive. So we make it across the border. I had been to TJ with my mom before, and I knew we had been to the country club, and I had cash, so I checked us in. I contacted some relatives that we had in TJ. I said, get a hold of my mother. I know you know where she is, and tell her that we are here, that I've brought her children. And in the morning, there was a knock at the hotel door, and I go, finally, she's here. But when I opened the door, it turns out it was one of my cousins. She sent someone else, and I lost it. I said, after everything that we've been through and everything that it took for us to get here, she can't come to meet us here? So I talked to my brother and my sister, and I said, I no longer trust our mother, and I'm not going. You guys can go back, you can go with her, or you can go with me. So they went with the cousin. The cousin took them to my mom, and my girlfriend, Adrian, from Orange County, drove to TJ to come and get me and Libby, and we came back. So my life continues to unfold. There are other big experiences. I end up meeting a boy who takes me in, tells his parents what's going on with me, and they kept me anyway. They were my saviors. He was abusive, though, and he was an alcoholic. But I ended up staying there from the time that I was 15 years old until the time that I was 34. In between that time, my mom had came back. My brother and my sister had ended up in foster care, and I was able to get my brother and my sister out of foster care. At a certain point, they stayed to live with me. At a certain point, mom cleared up all her legal issues, and we all lived together again as one happy family. all of this resentment, right, is like staying there, being very present. But at 34 years old, I ended up starting to lose mobility in my body. And I think it was a combination of a perfect storm. The intense stress that never let up in my life, maybe in combination with, malnourishment, maybe not enough supplements. But they say that every condition begins in the energetic level first, and that everything happens for a reason, right? So here I had been in this relationship with this man for 18 years that was super abusive, that had convinced me that I could never do it on my own, that I needed to be with him. And when I started losing mobility and the doctors couldn't tell me over a period of 2 years what was going on with me, and I thought, I'm going to end up paralyzed and this man's going to have to take care of me. It finally gave me the courage that I needed to leave and see if I could do it on my own. So I left, and there began another phase, right, of this bus stop conversation of this movie. And when I arrived at Agape at 38, I felt like a car that screeched into the parking lot, that's tires were bare, the hood was popped open, and smoke was coming out of the engine. And I'm like, somebody help me. And at that point, Reverend Michael said from the pulpit, what do you want your health for anyway? And I had never really thought of it in those terms. I'm like, oh, am I supposed to do something with it? And I started taking classes, and he said, with the disclaimer from the podium, take a class, it'll change your life, and don't say I didn't warn you. I had no idea how much healing I was in store for. It was the beginning of me starting to dive into everything pre-38 years old, because I had not had time to process any of it prior to. It had taken a toll on my body. I had developed an autoimmune condition that attacked my nervous system and my motor nerves, so I was losing mobility. And I had no idea that the whole time that I had gone through all of that, I was not alone. It wasn't until I heard about the law of oneness. And I go, you mean to tell me that in those moments of great darkness, that God was there all along? And that was such a relief for me. And then soon thereafter, I heard Dr. Sue say that big souls come in for big lessons, and they usually get started right away. And I go, you're telling me that these experiences weren't random? And that somehow this was all in my favor. And so I started to dive into what it would mean to start to view my life experience from those perspectives. Is it possible that I really am that big? Yes. Is it possible that we are all that big? Yes. Picture an iceberg in the ocean, right? How we only see 10% of it and the rest of it is underwater. Well, you and I are that, but like an upside down or reversed iceberg, right? Like we only see this much and the rest of us is coming down from the heavens, from that dimension. How do we go to work with such big stories so that we don't get stuck in, I can never have that because of how bad it's been, or I don't deserve? You start to allow yourself to become available to the truth. And you begin to forgive it all. No exceptions. Maybe layer by layer. And maybe, yes, it's going to take some time. But in the end, what you really want is you want to know who it is that you are, what you're made out of, what you're capable of, what you are here to do, what gifts you are here to share. And you're not going to feel whole or complete until you access the rest of you, until you deliver your gifts in your own way, and nothing else will ever satisfy it. Nothing else will ever allow you to heal until you're able to do just that. So last February, Jesse and I got married. I met Jesse in 2012, that man over there. He is my greatest support. And we bought a house recently, just a few months ago. We invited my mom to come down, to come and visit us. And at one point, I let go of the rest of that story. She wanted to go to a casino, so she was sitting at a slot machine. We live in Las Vegas. And she was sitting there at the slot machine. And I put my hand on her back, and the tears were coming down my eyes because I realized how much she had to love me to play that role that had been so difficult. Everybody that had played a role in my life, from my dad to my mom, to my brother, to my sister, to my aunts, to my 5th grade teacher. Everything that we move through truly is done from the vibration of love. But we come here and all of us forget what it is that we are up to. And I could not begin to access the rest of me that you're seeing now had that level of forgiveness had not occurred for both of us, right? For my mom and for me, and everybody else that had played a role in my life. So the invitation is, allow your potential to matter more than your history. I'm not saying disregard your history. I wrote a whole book to help me heal from mine. But allow your potential to matter more than your history. Go back for the wounded, innocent one, the one that didn't receive what he or she needed, because now you're in a position to give that to yourself and let that wounded, innocent one know that you are not going anywhere. That is my practice. Every time that my emotions come up, that I sense my 5-year-old, my 12-year-old, my 23-year-old, my 18-year-old, I tell her, you come here. I've got you. And we're going to be okay. You have all the time that you need from me. And then the last thing is allow love to be what matters most. As hard as that may be, it is the only thing that can set us free. Thank you. And so I invite you to turn within for a moment as we pray and as we take a breath. How grateful and thankful I am for this day, for this moment, for this love that is always present, this presence that loves us so much beyond anything that we can even begin to comprehend. For the grace that gets to accompany us along the journey of our soul's unfoldment and what it means to embrace our divine humanity. I'm grateful and thankful for the Centers for Spiritual Living, all of the pioneers that have come before us, that prepared the way, that allowed us for us to be gathered here in this way today. To know that there truly is a truth that is the same yesterday, today, and forever, that allows us to come out from this deep slumber of the density of the dream as we remember that the only thing that matters is love. And so I recognize that God truly is this love without limit, this love without condition. It is the ultimate divine love. To know that there is nothing outside of this beautiful presence. And so it's easy to realize that it is the one true power. To know that its divine intelligence is what births the stars, the galaxies, the universe. It is what is beating our hearts. And that we are eternally one with this presence. That the Creator and its creation can never be separated, even in times of forgetfulness, of amnesia. There it is. The divine spark within every single one of our hearts. And so we put our hands on our hearts as a reminder that it is it that is beating it. Its life is what pours through this system. And we can lean into that and know that we can do anything when we do it with God. For we forgot that that was the agreement, that we would come here and co-create with it, and we would allow ourselves to be supported as we remembered and access our magnificence. And so I'm just grateful and thankful for all that has transpired here this day, all of the individuals that are present in person and online, those that will tune in later, to know that we are eternally enveloped, loved, guarded, guided, and supported. And so knowing that this is already so in the heart of God, that we truly have every single one of our needs met as we continue the journey of our unfoldment, we lean in, we become curious, we forgive it all, and we love. And we allow it to be by saying, and so it is. Amen.
Wow. So it's that time where we talk about one of our spiritual practices, and that is the practice of circulation. So as the band begins our song and the ushers get ready at the back of the room, I want to say thank you. Thank you for all that you give and for being with us each and every week. Thank you for tuning in online. Thank you for supporting this community in so many ways. With your talents, with your gifts, with your treasures. It is appreciated. So the ushers are going to come through as you prepare your gifts. And I just want to remind everybody that it is up to us to support this community in thriving, expanding, growing. And that as we give those promissory notes, it really is a promise. It's a promise that we shall survive. We'll keep going and teaching generations behind us these principles. That there is only one. That we can never be disconnected. That as we give of ourselves, it comes back. So thank you so much.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed.
And if you missed the basket, you can bring it up forward. And for those of you online, you can text to give. Go to our website. Okay, let's bless these offerings. So extend your heart through your hands toward the baskets and repeat after me. I am so blessed. We are so blessed. For every promissory note that is in these baskets, and for every transaction online, we know it returns to us multiplied abundantly. And so it is. Thank you, Sue and Nancy.
Oh,
Let's hear some more from Dallas Brown. Dallas Brown, thank you. Beautiful. And thank you, Reverend Cynthia. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful message. Don't forget about the workshop and lunch following this. Enjoy a beautiful week. Remember, as you're aligning with the renewing of yourself, the re-blossoming, the reawakening, that together we can change the world. Let's stand and sing together.